he said to me, and these were the words that struck me to my core, that rose the hairs on the back of my neck. He said, Mike, I'm going to start working with you in responding to emails, so that I could take you out of a truck and put you in the office, and help out in the office. And I thought to myself, that's not what I came here for. Hi everyone, this is Mike with Profit to Prosper, and I want to talk to you today about how I got started in the independent courier business. My story is that I went from a junky van that was so ugly that my grandfather, a rough around the edges Jamaican man, called it a big old dirty van. I turned that into something positive, so I named the van Bo Diva, Bodiva, for big old dirty van, that I got from a striping company in Connecticut, and turned that into a 6-figure delivery business. All that I've learned in these 8 years, I want to share and help someone else out there, because there's another entrepreneur out there who probably has a vehicle or probably has the will to make something great in that arena or in that industry, and you just need a little bit of encouragement, and more importantly, a system that works, and a system that can accelerate your efforts to get you to the financial freedom that you desire. So that dream and that ugly van allowed me to have the time freedom, because at Profit to Prosper, we believe that profits are better than wages. And that means that there is a fundamental mindset shift that occurs when you switch from being a W-2 employee to a W-9 employee, when you go from being an employee to being a business owner. You don't always get a steady paycheck, but when you do make profits, those profits make up for the inconsistencies at time that you get from a paycheck, because many of us who are entrepreneurs know that is the trap of the system, to give you a steady paycheck so that you get used to being paid for hours of your life and hours of your time. But when you think about it, when you sit down and actually reflect on it, or even get mentored by someone who has the financial pedigree to challenge your thinking, you'll discover that time is not money. It's a common saying that we have, that time is money. Time is infinitely more important and precious than money. Because if you lose $1,000, you can make that $1,000 as long as you have the knowledge, right? You can get it back. But if you lose 1,000 minutes, if you lose 1 hour, if you lose a couple of hours, you can never get that back. Regardless of how educated you are, you can never get that money back, or time rather back. So time is infinitely more important than money. And so those who understand that understand when I say profits are better than wages. Because when you learn how to build a business that is profitable, then it's not directly related to you trading in your hours for a consistent check at the end of the week. So when you venture out to become an entrepreneur, you have to get out of that mindset of needing a paycheck every single week, because it's that very system that is keeping us a shackle, that's keeping us bound to that Pavlovian response of work all week, complain, grumble. I was just on an elevator today, and the elevator operator, all they could think about was just getting away from the job while they were working. That was the thing that was on their mind. Sometimes I say to myself, I'm sorry fellas, can't complain with you, but that's what it means when profits are better than wages. The profits are actually building your future Your wages can build your future, but they are also taking your time away from you. So let's get back to the point at hand. How I got started. 2015, I started at a trucking company. Now, before I started at this trucking company, my finances were like so terrible, so out of whack. I wasn't able to hold down a job. I wasn't able to hold down a full-time job because at that time we were dealing with family issues and health issues, and we had to go to doctor's appointments, my wife and I, and we had to have our schedule be available for anything that would come up as we tried to deal with our daughter's health. And thank God she's fine now. She's okay and has a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And she's learning about herself and learning about her story and what this means for her living. I tell her all the time, you more than any child your age, you deserve to be here, because you fought to live. So around that time, things were really rough and things were really tough. And one of the most embarrassing moments of my life and my manhood was a day when I went out to eat with my wife at lunch, and the server ran my credit card, declined, ran another credit card, declined, ran the third credit card, declined. And so about the third time ringing up a declined credit card, people are beginning to notice the back and forth, and they're beginning to know and understand certain things about my ability to pay, and therefore my ability to take care of my wife. And so I didn't turn out well. I was embarrassed. I was horrified. They held her hostage and said, well, we need you to cover this check, so go get it, go find it, and or else we'll have to call the authorities. So I cried all the way home because I thought to myself, I can't even protect my bride who I made promises to. And I vowed that moment to never, ever let that happen again. And thank God that has never happened again, and far from it. We've been able to position ourselves to have financial freedom, and for myself personally, free me to be able to do what I love to do, which is to empower people, which is to help individuals break past limiting beliefs. And I believe this is my life goal. This is the reason why God placed me on this earth. This is my purpose. And so regardless of what I try to do, there's always going to be some sort of a motivational coaching element to it, because this is who I am. So started out at a trucking company because I love to drive. I realized a long time ago that corporate America is not for me. I tip my hat off to those who are in corporate America and who can deal with the corporate politics and deal with the monotony, the every single day saying the same thing. Hi Bob, hi Jen, bye Bob, bye Jen, hi Bob, hi Jen, bye Bob, bye Jen. I couldn't do it. So I needed diversity. I needed to go different places, see different things. I needed to hear the birds, for goodness sake. I needed to see trees and the blue sky, even the gray sky on rainy days. I still needed to see it. After putting out applications to different trucking companies or driving careers, I started working at a trucking company in Queens, and within 2 months, the owner of the business saw not only my driving ability, but they also saw my leadership ability. And I say it comes from just not talking back. Something's asked of you, that you're there to work. The boss tells you to do something, you do what the boss tells you to do. And it's so simple, yet so many people have trouble, I guess, submitting submitting to the rules and submitting to the requests of your job and your boss. And don't get me wrong, I understand that people are not being paid what they're worth. if you ask 10 people, is your job paying you what you think you're worth? Most of them will tell you absolutely not. And that's another sign of profits are better than wages, because wages will never be able to pay you for what you're worth, for the value that you have up here, for what you bring to the world. But profits, now, when you put yourself into a system of profits, when you do something that is valuable to the marketplace and you get paid, those profits are not limited by how much time you put into your business. It can grow, it can scale without you, and especially if you have the right vehicle, if you're in the right vehicle where it doesn't require your time in order for you to make money. Oh yeah, this is by the way how this really happened. When he told me you don't have a route today and you can't drive, which is what I came there for. I was basically floating, and he says, well, just sweep out the warehouse. And guess what I did? Swept out the warehouse. No complaints, no protests. He saw that I did what he said to do. And when he saw that it was done completely without any complaint and without any protest, those things resonated with him, and they stayed with him. He said to me, and these were the words that struck me to my core, that rose the hairs on the back of my neck. He said, Mike, I'm going to start working with you in responding to emails, so that I could take you out of a truck and put you in the office, and help out in the office. And I thought to myself, that's not what I came here for. I didn't say this to him. This is my own thinking. This is not what I came here for. Furthermore, there were full-time employees while I came on as part-time, because I had a plan to eventually learn enough of the business to branch out and start my own operation. So hearing this man was changing my entire plan, because this is not what I signed up for. And now with those full-time employees moving on and leaving, I became that much more attractive as a candidate for a full-time position. And so as those individuals were leaving, more and more pressure or weight was placed on me to really begin to move into those positions of being more of a permanent staff member, which was against my initial plan. So I saw the writing on the wall, and I had to act quick. So I went to Connecticut to grab my van, and I got a van for $700. It was supposed to be $800, but it was $700, and that's because I impressed the seller so much. And he said, I'm going to take $100 off to support your entrepreneurial efforts. And by the way, this didn't happen by chance. It was the system that I developed to actually get my vehicle and be a pro by the time I got my vehicle. And I talk about that in my ebook, which there's going to be a link below, but it's a 65-page ebook of my entire story, and also my formula, step-by-step formula that I used to start with that big old dirty van and to create that six-figure revenue a year business. Using my system, I was able to be a pro by the time I met the final seller that would actually sell me the vehicle. Started out with a $700 van, and I didn't know what to do, so the first thing I had to do was register it. And registering it was I think about $300 or $400. No, $300 I think, registration and insurance. I'm not exactly sure, but it wasn't terrible. And that's in New York, of course. So if you're somewhere else, then much better, because New York, everything is expensive in New York. Love it, but everything is expensive in New York. So after registering the vehicle, I had a vehicle and I didn't have any jobs. And I actually talk about this and coach that you get your vehicle first before you start lining up jobs, because your vehicle is going to determine that the jobs that you get, as well as you. It's no problem for you to get a vehicle and secure it as long as you have a place to put it. You can secure it. You don't necessarily have to register it immediately, but you can secure a vehicle at the price that works for you. And that's the most important part of the system, is to get a vehicle that works for you at the price that is within your budget. Well, that's what my system teaches in the book, the ebook. You have to be prepared, prepare yourself, so that when that moment does come, and they say it's better to have be prepared and not have the opportunity than to have the opportunity and not be prepared. And that's exactly the way I train people to enter their conversation with their final seller. And so with this van, now it's registered and I have the ability to call places. That's why you get your vehicle first, and you can begin to call places. Even if you don't register it immediately, but you have a vehicle, you're able to speak to the right types of freight brokers. You're able to speak to the right types of companies. You're able to speak to the right people, because you know what vehicle you'll be using to fulfill the job, even if it's not registered yet. So and the process, depending on where you are, the process of registration is just a walk into your local DMV, and you get the plates, and you get the registration sticker, things like that. And you, in New York, you get a temporary inspection sticker. You get the registration sticker, but you get a temporary inspection sticker that's good for 10 days. So you could literally call people today with a vehicle that's sitting there, as long as it's mechanically ready. And that's another reason why you get the vehicle first, because you also want to change your fluids or get it prepared for service, or do whatever you can. If you have a friend or family member in the mechanic industry, then they'll be able to give it a once over and help you out by looking at it, giving you advisory on what to do. Changing the, hands down, change all the fluids. You change the coolant, that's the green fluid. You change a transmission fluid, or just change the transmission fluid. If you can get to the filter as well, that's the red fluid. And then the oil, depending on how good or bad it was maintained, that is the either amber fluid or black fluid. So the oil is the black, the red is the transmission, and the green is the coolant. Those are the three main fluids that you have to think about. You also have the power steering, as well as the brake fluid. Okay, and you'll be able to locate all of those things, get familiar with your vehicle, and do all these things. Just roll it around the block. Just make sure everything is good, so that when you do get a job, you're not rushing to get a vehicle to fulfill the job. And some people, if you don't have a vehicle, they'll say, well, call me back when you have everything together. So you need to have things together before you can start with confidently looking for jobs. But when you get your vehicle, you don't necessarily have to put it on the road yet. You can have your vehicle, and if you have a space where you can park it, you have it in that space, and you can start calling companies. You can start putting yourself out there and asking for a certain amount of lead time. You can ask for a 3 or 4 day lead time, or when they ask you when can you start or doing shipments, you can say 3 to 4 days, or what have you, whatever works for you. And then you'd be able to register your vehicle knowing that you'll be registering it into a workload. Once I registered my vehicle, I was ready to go, and I started calling places up and got a freight broker to just give me a shot. Queens to Brooklyn, a short trip. You could do this trip, and it was a box. You could do it in your personal vehicle. And he said, well, what do you charge? I used the script that I teach in the ebook as well, my proprietary script, to make sure that you always get the right price that both pleases you as well as pleases the customer. And we agreed on a price, and I did the job. Something else kicked off, and I was able to get more business that way. And so I didn't necessarily continue to pursue or check up. If I wanted to pursue and I wanted to continue getting work from that individual, I would be calling in just to check in, calling in just to keep myself relevant, because no doubt the industry would be moving quickly, and in a quick fast-paced moving industry, it's easy to forget things that are loosely regarded. So you want to make sure that you're not loosely regarded, and it doesn't mean that you have to call them, hounding them for work, but just calling them, reminding them that you're available, and that's it. Don't ask them to make any promises. Don't ask them, don't beg, none of that. You're just putting it out there. You're marketing your availability. That's all you're doing. So, I did that, and then I started on UShip, and that's a company that I love to share with people, because that's actually how I got my start. Even Uber is getting into freight. So for those people who are saying AI is taking everything over, don't be afraid of what AI is going to do. AI is not going to take everything over. In fact, AI cannot phase out independent couriers. It's impossible, because there is such a human element to this, and this is something I want to touch on, because if you understand this can be the difference that you make, and this can be the difference for you when you understand that moving things, whether it's just a box, or it could be a mechanical device, it could be something that is inanimate, that has no life in itself. But because there are humans on either end of that delivery, that mechanical device, that industrial piece, that hard, cold, modular box just became a token in an emotional journey, because there's someone on this end who's sending it off, and then there's someone on this end who's hoping to receive it intact without any damage. So regardless of how inanimate the object is, there's going to be sentiment attached to it. There's going to be an emotional attachment to it. And so those couriers who understand the emotional attachment will do what's necessary to put themselves in another bracket. That means, and I know it sounds like a corny cliche, that means treating every piece like it's either your own, it's your mother's, or it's your sister's, or it belongs to somebody you love. So I'm not here to comment on your relationship with your family members. I'm just here to make a point. So that's why I said those you love. So just to make sure we're on the same page. So you treat it like you're delivering it to someone that you love. You're conscious of their tone when they talk to you, and you sense some anxiety. You don't become defensive, which is the amateur move. The amateur move is, oh, well, I said I was going to be there at a certain time, and no, that's not how we do things in this company. No. When you meet an anxious customer, that is an opportunity to reassure them. And when you reassure them, you gain them. And when you gain them, they will call you back, and they will recommend you to their family members and people they love, right? And this is what I mean when I say, when you learn how to when you learn this difference and how to recognize and honor it, you will put yourself in a different bracket. Because when people see the way you treat them, when they see how you respond to their emotional quirks, just because they're anxious about the delivery. And most times, guess what? Some of their anxiety is not directed to you, especially if it's going to be the first job that you do. It's not directed to you. They don't even know how you do your service, but it will be a projection from the previous failed or damaged deliveries that they had. But amateurs who posed as professionals, and they let them down when it was too late to protect the peace. So you're going to have clients that will have this nervous energy, this anxious energy, and some of them will be defensive, overbearing, overprotective, all of those things. Everything that has to do with doubts, nervousness, worry, anxiety, frustration, all of those things. They're the emotional element of this business. And the people who learn how to not react or retaliate to that, but address it in a way that uses it as an opportunity to reassure the customer that you're the right man or woman to do the job, you will get your lion's share in this industry. When you have knowledge that this is an emotional process, you'll say, oh yes, I can definitely understand your concern in this area. What would you prefer? How would you like us to transport it? Are there any notes on how to handle this that you may want us to know? And when you do that, guess what? The customer feels in control. They feel like they're heard. They feel like you exercised enough restraint to make them a participant in the delivery. And because of that, they'll leave you alone. That's what happens all the time. You know, I get certain notes from the dispatcher to say, watch out for this person because they're a nervous Nelly, or this person, may be a little anxious on site. My words to them, don't worry, because whatever comes up, I already understand. This is an emotional journey for that individual, and until their piece is delivered safely where they wanted it, there's going to be emotional unrest. And so when you understand that, you will be able to dominate in your space. So the moment you recognize that a delivery, regardless of how cold or modular the piece is an emotional experience and an emotional process that you have to manage, that's when you begin to create the mindset that puts you in a completely different bracket. So I was doing, I got that freight broker to give me that job. Could have continued it, but I found something else. Before I found that thing, I was doing what is called subcontracting work, where there's a company that has a whole network of vendors that they service, and they just need independent contractors or owner-operators. Those are people who not only operate a vehicle, but they own the vehicle that they operate. Now, the thing I will tell you about those companies is they have great connections that offer them a steady flow of work. And when you're starting out, you might need a system that you can tack onto or tap into in order to get that steady flow of income and jobs and experience. Now, that does come with a whole lot of baggage or a downside. For me, I looked at my report and I realized I was only getting $4 to $7 per package. And I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way that I can get more of this pie. And so $4 to $7 per delivery per package wasn't cutting it for me. As some of you may know or may not know, my background is in graphic design, and I was pulling in $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 doing a branding project. So I knew that I was capable of much more than this. So I didn't last long there. Besides that, I got a whole bunch of tickets. It's almost as if the entire day was washed out when I came back to my van and got a parking ticket. So that wasn't pleasant, and I knew I wouldn't last there very long, and I moved on. I think I just finished paying for my uniform. Oh yes, you have to pay for your uniform. They give you a uniform, but you pay for it, and I think you can do it in installments. I just finished paying for my uniform, and I said I'm done. So that was an experience, and that's the traditional courier experience. And don't get me wrong, some people they do it, they excel at it. I just knew that model wasn't for me, and I didn't see how I was going to get to six figures being in that type of system or environment. So my journey took me to a path where I was able to make $70 and $350 per delivery, and to the point where right now our average delivery rate is about $450 on average. That means the lower end to the higher end, on average $450 per delivery. And of course, when you start getting data into your accounting system, you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to make projections based on what you have historically done, and that's where I got that number from. Between 450 to 540 or 560 is the area that we range in for a single delivery. So it's a possibility you can do it, and if $4 to $7 per package doesn't seem like what you dreamed of, don't worry, you're not the only one. There is a better way. And so that's another reason why I made my ebook, so that you can be taken through that journey, not only of my story and my journey, so that you could see that what I did was possible, and if I could do it, you could do it as well. But also, I also break down the different tips, the steps, the needs, the requirements, and also the mindset that you need to make these shifts. Because much of what we talk about in terms of building a business, it's really mostly mindset. It's all about attitude. It's all about your perspective. It's about how you view a crisis. Is it really a crisis, or is it an opportunity in disguise as a crisis? So what's important is for you not to only get the nuts and bolts, but also the attitude, the spirit of a person who is successful in this industry. Okay, attitude matters a great deal. So yeah, that's all in there. And like I said, there's a link below, and you can definitely take a look at it. So that moved me to a load board, a particular load board that I saw through a show that A&E produced, and I believe this was a life-changing show for me, and hopefully I wasn't the only one, because they did a really good job of capturing the spirit of building a transportation business. You know, just stepping out of the boundaries of where you live, and moving across the country, and bringing joy, fulfillment, completeness to these clients as they delivered these items, and they were actually building their business. So it was an entrepreneurial journey of these couriers or truckers who were building their businesses. And they didn't all have trucks. Some of them had vans, some of them had trailers and things of that nature. So the show was called Shipping Wars, and the platform they were advertising, and I thought it was a clever marketing campaign, because they were advertising their platform, which is called UShip. And there are other platforms out there, or rather other networks, that allow individuals to be a part of their network and choose loads and qualify for loads. I know that LUGG is a current load board or network of shippers, independent contractors. So that's what I did, and I always tell the story. My first delivery was $70, and that was about the cost of the tolls and fuel for that trip. So it wasn't a profitable trip, but it was an investment. So this is where I tell anyone again that when you're thinking like a business owner, you can't rely on getting that weekly check. It's not going to come as consistently as you would like it to come in the beginning. But if you can take the time to develop it without needing the instant gratification of getting a check, you can create an asset, a business that is able to pay you way more profits than the wages you would have lost in that time. So that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur knows that they might not get a payday today, but the payday tomorrow will be much greater than the payday they could have gotten today. So that first job was just that, an investment. I only did that job because no one else was willing to take a chance on me. This was a platform that I was brand new to. I was completely new to, and I had no reputation. I had no previous jobs, and everything was up there. They had full transparency. You saw my name and 0 next to it. And so I was a wild card to anyone looking for a reliable shipping company. So whoever started with me or whoever clicked on my bid and said, I'll go with you, they took a chance. And I do appreciate them doing that. And it was a bench from Maryland to New Jersey. And this bench landed me my first 5-star review. If you get someone who's going to take a chance on you to be your first shipment, you better make sure you give them a 5-star service. No 6-star service. No 7-star service. No 8-star service. That means whatever price they say they will do it for, honor that price and go above and beyond. Give them 3 times as much value as they deserve, because that first customer will open so many doors for you. That first customer opened so many doors for me because there were 5 stars next to my name. I had my first review and it was a 5-star review. And there are 2 ways to look at that. You can either say, well, this person only has 1 review and it just happens to be a 5-star review. Or you can look at it and say, wow, this person did 1 job and they aced it. They completely blew it out of the water. I think they're onto something good, and they're new, so they won't, be too set in their ways. They'll be flexible because they are still hungry as well. So there are 2 ways to look at it, and I'm just thankful that it worked. Once I got my first review, my first 5-star review, then the floodgates opened and I was able to get a whole bunch of jobs later on that month and later on throughout the year. So the next stage was from that reputation being built and people now responding to my bids on this load board U-Ship, I was able to land a client that was my first consistent client. That means a client that doesn't just get you for a one-off job, but they strike a deal with you and they say, I like your service and I have more items, more shipments like this one, and I'm going to need someone stable. I'm going to need someone consistent, so you make a deal, you work out the terms of your deal, and you say, okay, great, we're working together. He was a decorator. He still is a decorator, and that was my start in the high-end delivery business, because now you're going from delivering boxes for $4 to $7 per package to now you're getting $100, $300, $400 per delivery, and it begins to add up, as well as it allows you to scale your business and scale your efforts, because now you're getting paid more for less. All right, so he introduced me to the next place that I'm going to suggest that you move into, which is the gallery scene, the auction scene, and auction houses. And so there is a way that you deal with these vendors. And if you only have one shot, and if you mess up that first shot, you might not get another one. And so that's why I outline in my ebook the way to properly, first time, only time, leave an impression on these businesses. And there's one setup that is the most critical for you to master. And of course, it's too much for me to go through in detail on this video, but it's definitely in there. And you want to make sure that when you show up to these places that you look like you know what you're doing, you're professional, and that also opens up new doors for you to work with a vendor now, work with a business, have a business throwing you work, right? Because when you have a private customer throwing you work, you can't really rely on the consistency or frequency. But when you have a business partnering with you, they are turning things over daily. And so that's the ultimate goal of where you want to go. You want to get from one-off items to a customer who's going to be a consistent customer, who eventually will give you a doorway into working with a facility, a business, a vendor. And that's where things really begin to take off for you. That's where you'll see the momentum start to gather. And the rest, as they say, is history. Where are you in your high-end independent courier business? Are you thinking about it? Are you just starting out? Are you dealing with issues or challenges? Are you thriving? Or are you scaling? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will never miss another one of these videos. And again, we talk about profiting to prosper. It's not just about profiting. God wants you to prosper as well. So until next time, God bless you.